It's your 10th anniversary for Lost Mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I got a lot of gray hairs, James. Jay still looks super young, but
It's such a special place. Why did you guys decide on Virginia and not Napa Valley or something more conventional?
I mean, we like the challenge when someone says you can't do something or it's impossible to do. We kind of gravitate towards that. And I knew that good wine was being made in Virginia at the time. This is early 2000 in the sense of Jim Law at Linden Vineyards and Luca at Barboursville were already pioneers in kind of making really good wines. But I felt like we could take what they learned and take it to the next level.
That's really amazing, what you've achieved in 10 years, really. I mean, and the wines are, I've always been a big fan. They show such tension and precision. And I think that's something also that Virginia can achieve with its much more temperate and mild climate compared to California or, let's just say West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we're I think we capture a little bit the best of both worlds. We're a little bit riper when people taste our wines blind in Bordeaux. They say, oh, a very ripe vintage in Bordeaux, or they refer to it as a classic vintage or like an old time vintage in California. I think it's a little bit riper than Bordeaux, but then a little bit still has that austerity and that kind of structure and linearity.
You use words like linear, tension. How would you really describe your wines, and like what does your terroir and microclimate really give you?
Well, I think so for the Lost Mountain especially, it's mostly Cabernet dominated, and I think for me the great wines, especially when they're young, have a little bit more of what I think of like an arrow, a very precise. There's a purity to it. And I think that's what we're looking to create, not necessarily one of these big monster wines, but more nuanced, elegant, and a wine that kind of evolves in the glass and evolves over time.
I'm tasting your 14 here, which we happen to have a bottle at my wife's wine bar. And I'm impressed how it's come along. I haven't really tasted it for a while. I first tasted it in 2018, and I'm impressed by how it's evolved. It's interesting that I said it was big and it was powerful and rich, but tight and firm at the finish. And now it's really just taken on that more what it had at the finish. It's very fine tanned and elegant with a really nice linear line through the wine, and then all that beautiful currant and sous-bois like forest floor character. It's really beautiful now.
Oh, thank you
so much, James.
Yeah.
So, when we look back at our milestones, James, as far as our 10 years, we're like, what are the highlights? And definitely your visits here and with Bill, we're
It makes me proud to be an American when you taste wines like that. There's something, really significant that wines are made where, the founding fathers established vineyards. And like you said, colonialists, where they actually had to have vineyards when they came to America from England. So it's really exciting to put that into context and also to describe that to people that aren't Americans. And I think that they find that really fascinating and in an interesting way, sort of endearing. It's really special, and you guys are really, waving the flag for American wines.
Well, thank you. That's really kind of you. Really, we love what we're doing here. So it's always nice to hear positive feedback without question.
So what do you think about the future then? So your 10 years, like, do you have a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, or you just sort of take it as it comes? Like, what are your hopes and aspirations for the next 10 years?
Well, definitely COVID put a road or speed bump in our plans. But I think the main thing is, James, what we're trying to do is, we have a great following here in the Mid-Atlantic region. But I think our next step was, when we brought some new people on our team, was to showcase to the world that Virginia can produce world-class wines, and that we can all of a sudden be poured in the best restaurants in New York City, down in Florida. We got into on the wine list at 11 Madison Park, at Danielle, at Per Se. So those were great things, and they had to have a category just Virginia, and then they just had one wine. But for us, that was a real kind of, again, to a pioneering way to broadcast to the world that in these foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, not good wine, but world-class wine can be made.
What are people saying about your wines, and are they surprised, or like who's drinking your wine?
My favorite customers for sure are the ones who come here and support this because we're in their backyard. But for me, like a couple of let's say in New York, like the investment bankers who follow wine, who are wine connoisseurs, and what they do is they buy our wine and they give it blind to their other wine connoisseur friends, and they want to one up them, because typically, if you think, when you're trying to drink wine, at our price point, you're kind of showing off to your customers how good, what kind of business relationship you have. Well, I'm going to give you a great Napa wine. But to pull out a Virginia wine, it kind of is a shock. But if they do it in a brown bag and pour it, they rave about it, and then reveal it, and they kind of look stunned, or like a hero. And I don't know. To me, I have a lot of stories like that, and I love that. We
definitely do. It levels the playing field. You don't have any preconceived idea going into it. So I think it's
So what do you think in the last 10 years, what have been your best vintages of Lost Mountain then?
It's like judging your kids, right? Everyone has one. Like 2008, your first one obviously is a special one. 2009, I'm going to throw all of them. No, but I'd say 2009 I really liked because it was very classic. It was almost like 2014 where it didn't have great hallmarks. 2010 was definitely a big hallmark, super ripe, really good. But I would say 2015 I really liked too because, 2016. James,
I love 2016.
Is because I feel like I always argued at the very beginning when people said, you need older vineyards to really get the full depth of a wine and to get like the mid-palate density. And I kind of was, and the Paris tasting was 3-year-old vines that, won it. And I kind of was very sensitive to it. I can say from the 2016 on, the last 3 vintages, the vines are giving grapes that have a little more depth. It's almost like Pierre Louton says, pixels in a photograph. Yeah. Like we're getting more pixels. So it's exciting for us that way. So it's hard to say which one's our favorite, but I would say looking forward at 16 and 17, 19. Those are they're one. I feel like we've kind of went one step up on the quality run.
Cool, and that'll continue as the vines get older. And I'm looking at my notes too, and I can see that the 17 again, more layered, nice intensity and fruit at different levels, just really adding to the complexity as the quality of the fruit or grapes get better. So that's really exciting.
Thank you so much, James, for chatting with us. Great to see you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Peace.